Yeah,
you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong.
Super
And
close.
It's the Thresh that is picked first this time. So Reggie wanted the Thresh ban. Nope. But it's the Thresh pick for CLG, and he's won both games so far.
They don't get the ban. They do bring it in. Like he said, once you're in a lead or behind a Thresh lane, he can zone you out so much, and he's going to hit those hooks even more.
And it's just going to be a matter of Vulcan not wanting to fall behind in this one, because something immediately has to give. The Jarvan team has won both games this series, and the Thresh team has won both games this series. Not going to happen for a third time here, so it's one of those get one versus get two situations that we just talked about. And I actually wonder if, see, I was actually like, maybe they'll pick Sona, but obviously they're not going to because they already have Thresh.
At least we caught it this time.
We caught it this time. I don't see Thresh as a support.
The support pick first. But so we have 3 games in a row. Zuna picking up his Tristana. Feels safe on that. Xmithy's going to be back on to Jarvan. That Lee Sin really, I don't think it fit either Chowster or Xmithy there. It was kind of trying to work too niche with the composition. It
didn't really seem to work. And even though the Sightstone is kind of a team fight item for Lee Sin because he can jump around and try to kick people through, they just didn't find the situations where it would be relevant. Hotshot on Malphite seems very good for them. That was a great shutdown for them last time. And this is a, obviously without the Jarvan, but so far comfortable situation for CLG. I wouldn't be too surprised to see Chowster go with a Mumu as their last pick and just go with an even heavier teamfight composition than they did last time.
That would actually be pretty crazy. Vulcan likes to gank the Amumu, so they may even want to see that come in as well. We do see a little bit of poke being put in here with some Diana, as well as the engage to go on the Jarvan. So they have safety as well as face roll, which is offense and a good defense is a good way to go in at it.
And Diana coming in for Mandatory Cloud, it's actually a pretty good pick. The thing is, he generally picks Diana against lanes that have a lot of trading potential, so he's picked it against things like Kha'Zix a lot in the past, or even Zed. But again, for whatever reason, Vulcan is picking Mandatory Cloud's champion before last pick. In the past, they had always picked Psycho Sid's top laner first and just said, we'll pick it into anything.
Right.
But because of the picks that have been going against him, banning Renekton in every game, and picking Malphite away from him, for some reason, they're just waiting for last pick for Psycho Sid this time instead of allowing Mandatory Cloud to pick into the counter matchups. And we'll see what Link goes against it in this situation. Will he go with the Orianna again, or is he going to go with something completely different as well?
The Orianna works so well for them, and it gives them just that long-range initiation for the fight. You can throw the ball on Malphite and get that double lockdown. And they're actually going with a lot of beef this game.
Chowster going with the Volibear, so Orianna can speed him up if he wants to try to get in there. It is one of the big Quadra 4 junglers that a lot of these guys have been playing. And it's not something I've seen Chowster play much of, but
I was just about to say that. This might be his
think
first.
This is his first Volibear game in all of the LCS. We'll have to see, you know, quite a time to pull out your first champion all year, but crazy move for them here.
The lock in here for the top lane. Who will we have? There are a few to be picked. They don't have the global composition, so they probably won't go with the Vladimir like they pulled out in the past few weeks. I really can't see much of what they pulled out. They're going back to the Aurelia, actually.
The Aurelia worked out for him.
It did,
in the past.
Yeah, it worked out well, especially against the Malphite, against the speed lockdown team. They even had Chowster on that one, too. Or, yeah, Chowster. Lee Sin on that one.
Even with the attack speed reduction, it was enough to just power through. The only difference in Vulcan's there's a couple differences in Vulcan's composition from game 1. They have Diana instead of Karthus and Sona instead of Thresh. For CLG, the only differences from their game 2 composition is there's no Jarvan. Everything else is the same for CLG. So these are similar compositions to the ones that we saw each team win with. So they're both kind of going for comfort. A lot of the traditional strategies in these best of threes was to just ban out what was working for the other team. That didn't actually happen in this situation. They just started trying to pick away what was working for the other team because these are very similar teams. They're like a lot of the same champions. And this should just be a throwdown for the final game.
We're going to see Chowster bringing out the Lee Sin and the Volibear here. I'm really excited to see what he can do. CLG has said, we look to Chowster to make moves in the early game. Can he do it on Volibear?
Well, Volibear in the past has been picked for his incredible early game power.
Yes, sir.
A lot of people do not want to fight a Volibear in the jungle because no matter what, he gets away from the situations. His passive is just so potent in the early game. And the only thing you have to wonder about is even though Volibear has seen play since his Q nerfs, which took his level 1 move speed down from 45% on Q and to 30%,
just a tick,
and then had it scale up throughout the game, will he be able to make the level 1 plays? Because Chowster needs to be able to do these, as we've seen, in order for CLG to succeed.
And we are into game 3, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to see if that can happen because everything has to be put onto the Rift in this one. Game 3 of your second playoff matchup, CLG versus Vulcan. The winner of this will go on to face Team Solo Mid. And that is going to be one tough game. So it looks like they're going to have to use everything they got now and build it up for that.
So now, Red Elixir once again on Psycho Sid. Just the potion opening again for Hotshot GG. Everything looks fairly standard in this situation. Doesn't look like they're trying anything crazy. This is the most important game these guys have played all year right now. Winner's definitely in. 100% for the next split. Still have a chance at that $50,000 first place prize in the playoff tournament. And there's nothing going on here at level 1. Just wards and standoffs.
Not surprised. I thought they may do something with the Thresh. They may do something with the flip of Volibear, but no hooks, no tosses to come in and start this one off. It looks like it's going to be safe. Again, 2 wards coming in for Vulcan to keep that bottom side extra safe. They're right next to each other, which is kind of odd.
And again, what I would want to call the standard LCS lanes, because the AD carry and support are in the lane with the double golems, and they're opting into essentially those 1v2s. But interestingly enough, are they going to give the blue buff to Mandatory Cloud again, even though he's on Diana? That's going to be the crazy thing, because Vulcan has done this jungle opening now 3 games in a row, and it doesn't look like CLG is doing much to counteract it.
It looks like Xmithy is going to stay topside. Mandatory Cloud going for the Wolves by himself. It's going to be a long way around for Psycho Sid here.
So it does appear that Psycho Sid is actually swapping back for some reason. What? They're going to do the AD carry and support mid lane, I think, and then have Aurelia go top lane. So Diana is someone that is capable of doing a top lane or a bottom lane, so a side laner. And even though it's Mandatory Cloud is usually a mid laner, that looks like what they're going to be trying to do. And they are giving him the blue buff afterwards. A lot of really last-second movements by Vulcan that CLG will have no knowledge of since they have no wards in Vulcan's jungle.
They're definitely going to roam to mid here, and this is kind of the pressure we heard GGU talking about, right? When they get the Blitzcrank, you can put that support mid. Obviously, Sona can't pull those buffs over walls, but they can still roam to the buffs more and keep better map pressure here.
And we'll see if Vulcan's able to put on the map pressure here, because they know where Chouster would have started. Well, they don't know exactly where Chouster would have started the jungle, but they can guess based on how Link approached the lane. They know roughly which side he came up on. But Chouster is rushing there so fast, and they know that Bloodwater and Zuno are there, that this is mainly just to try and shut down Link. They're not going to gain any additional buff control by having the 2 people mid.
And we see Xmithy going back quite early since he didn't get too much help on his attacks, or on the camps, I should say, using that smite for his first one. Psycho Sid getting some blade surges in for CS and a little bit of attack damage in as well.
And there's pink wards down in this bottom lane for CLG if they want to have Chouster approaching for a gank. He knows that he can walk through that one brush cleanly, and Mandatory Cloud might have to worry about a dive. They could do the Lantern Volibear gank from that brush and maybe catch Mandatory Cloud unawares of the turret, but no, they're just going to brute force through.
They're going to say, hey, we're here, and we're going to try and push you off of the lane. So it looks like they're just trying to brute force Mandatory Cloud out here, shut him down from experience.
And this looks really good for CLG, because you cannot match this type of turret push pressure in the middle lane when they have Sona and Tristana there. So Mandatory Cloud is just having to give this up, essentially.
And we see Xmithy trying to put pressure onto the top lane now. He knows bottom is in a hellacious position. Mandatory Cloud isn't even seeing minion waves right now.
It is just a matter of total denial, and CLG is actually not focusing on turret damage. They're trying to deny as much as possible for Mandatory Cloud. They know how much Vulcan keys off of Mandatory Cloud's success, and as soon as they saw Mandatory Cloud was down there by himself in an abusable situation, they want to do everything they can to keep him down.
And this is going to be bad, right? Because you can't take the time to even switch ManCloud back to mid here, but it looks like they try to take out Link in mid. They are going to create that pressure aggression, but like you said, it's not as easy.
It's the thing about the mid lane. As soon as you get the dive, there's another turret behind them, and Mandatory Cloud is now stranded at this turret. Chouster ran mid.
Chouster just diving into the fray. Gets a little ball help there from Link. Looks like he's backing off pretty safe.
This is a really crazy level 1 now, because it's now just 2 people, Doublelift and Aphromoo, trying to farm out this lane and maybe go in for a late dive on Mandatory Cloud. They know that Mandatory Cloud has no flash up, and he does have support and jungle coming to help him.
That turret is taking just so much damage. Now, like you said, they haven't put pressure on it. The minions have been putting pressure on it. Yeah, they put a few hits in, but that is theirs. That turret is preemptively damaged down so they can get some global gold whenever they need it. Quick items to be finished. It looks like Hotshot could get some help now from the jungler in the top lane, which he's already taken.
And the thing is about these trades in the bottom lane, Riv, is if CLG wanted to, they could have the turret already, but they deliberately chose not to kill that turret because denying Mandatory Cloud to them was more valuable. We'll have to see if that pays off here.
Mid turret almost down as well. That's some big map pressure to be let off, chat. Is the bottom going to equal the mid?
Well, it looks like the mid is down beforehand, as you said, and no, it's actually not. The mid turret is more valuable than the bottom turret in terms of map pressure. Obviously, the gold is exactly the same. It's 750 for the whole team, but it's really a matter of Link with 20 minion kills versus Mandatory Cloud with 9. And that's the trade that they're making to sacrifice essentially mid turret for bot.
Let's see what Mandatory Cloud can do to keep himself in this game. His build is definitely not going to be one, like you said, that they can key off of anywhere towards this mid game unless he finds some good kills or good amount of CS from here on out. We do have 24-17, like you said there, 40-38 for Hotshot GG and Psycho Sid. So those lanes are farming accordingly, and the AD carries are quite close as well.
And it's more of the same as far as the CS goes in these games. The laners are very evenly matched as far as being able to farm, and especially Hotshot. Going up against a red elixir champion on Malphite, who doesn't necessarily like really bully lanes, but Aurelia is a pretty good matchup for him, and he's doing a good job so far.
Leveling up that ground slam, making sure you can get those waves pushed as well. The ping's going down. Really just ping Chaucer just for where he is. Maybe they can be aggressive here. Hotshot kind of staying in lane for a second as he gets a little aggressed down by Psycho Sid, playing some mind games here. It's 6.5 minutes in. It's only about a 500 gold lead in favor of Vulcan. They do, once again, have a shutout on their turrets, so we'll see if they can keep that. But it's that bottom one that's very low, so I don't think it's going to last for too long.
CLG has this if they want it. Chaucer has spent so much time in this bottom lane this time, but this time made more of an impact than he did in Game 1, where they got a bit of a shellacking, and they'll be able to get this turret down, which will give them the gold lead. We'll see if then Vulcan can make moves accordingly because the mid turret is down.
So this opens up dragon pressure as well, so their advantages are kind of stacking now.
It opens up dragon pressure kind of for both teams because both of those turrets are close to the dragon, so it actually takes away from the retreat paths of both teams when they decide to go for dragon. It takes the safe areas away because now the blue buff for Vulcan is less safe since there's no turret in that area, and the dragon/red buff of CLG is also vulnerable.
All right, we'll have to see how teams play off of this one. Bloodwater getting some use in return on investment from that pink ward. Looks like he puts a little gold in his pocket. Still, Link does not look like they have gone back to buy too much yet. No, he did. He got a Doran's on the first back. Still has that Fairy Charm. So really, we've seen the past few games these guys starting into the Rod of Ages right away, starting the tier right away, but they're kind of just building in lane for regen.
I think one of the big reasons they did Doran's Ring actually is Hotshot gets ganked. That was nice.
That was pretty cool.
He actually unstoppable forced while Xmithy was trying to get the flag knock
and the
up.
Blade Surge.
Interrupted his move block and knocked him up in the meantime, allowing him to just kind of get a free escape while doing some nice damage. But to get back to that other point, the Doran's Rings on Mandatory Cloud and Link had a little bit to do with fear of diving, and they wanted to pick up a little bit of temporary health in order to stay alive.
Psycho Sid still sticking with the Blade of the Rune King build. Bilgewater Cutlass comes out on him. Even, really, the boots are being thrown to the wayside here in the early part of the game. We saw Dig doing it previously back, I believe it was MLG week, and now kind of people are waiting off on boots in their games now, but still to pick them up later. It's not really a lane they would need it in. They're kind of fighting back and forth, and then backing out. We see Aframu head to the bottom lane here. Looks like he's going to back to give some more support to Double Lift with wards.
Both of these guys, AD carry-wise, farming really well. Junglers have mainly just pressured lanes. This is where they might catch Hotshot by surprise.
They try to go again. The flash gets him out that time. So they try with 2, they try with 3, maybe 4 next time.
Xmithy did not ultimate there. I think he just hit level 6. I wasn't sure if he had his ultimate up during the initial gank. If he would have had ult, they could have gotten Hotshot GG, but Hotshot barely got out of there in time. Now, though, this could be turret number 2. When they got the turret lead in that first game, they really just carried it through, but they didn't. They had the kills that time as well.
They absolutely did have kills at that point. 10 minutes in, though, 9.5 so, if you will. It's not a bad time to get your second turret. That means CLG, however, is going to be able to pressure bottom, but it doesn't look like Vulcan's giving up in the top lane.
They could just continue this push because they know that the Dragon is gone. Also, Mandatory Cloud is able to freely farm, but it's on Hotshot now to hold off this 3-man push. Malphite is a pretty good guy for doing this, but they might be going.
Most of his summoners and that ultimate down. They go for the jump, rocket jump onto him. The kill goes over to Zuna. They perfectly execute that.
Very dangerous situation there. We knew we had no ultimate or flash on Hotshot, so Vulcan could just jump right on that, but they will not be able to get the rest of this turret because Link was able to go back after that Dragon, so they got a kill and a turret for a Dragon, which is a slight edge for Vulcan.
Hotshot still piecing things together, 59-73 in that lane as that CS started to get some discrepancy into it in favor of Psycho Sid. Everybody else quite even. Actually, Link this time has taken over in mid CS, 71-61.
And this was actually the only game where Link and Mandatory Cloud isn't necessarily comparable because they were in such different lane situations. Mandatory Cloud got denied multiple waves right at the start of the game because of the 3v1 setup he was essentially in the bottom lane. And Hotshot's items as well. This is just what Hotshot does. He pieces together as much as possible. You will almost always see 6 items in his inventory, whether it's potions or wards or just components, because there's not an item in his inventory worth more than 475 gold, but he's still got 6 items.
ManCloud pulling out the Seeker's arm guard. He knows he is going to have to dive into fights here with Xmithy. It's going to get tough. Chowster and a Hotshot, a Volibear and a Rock. That Malphite to go through in a team fight is going to be really hard for them.
And it was a huge boon for CLG last game when Hotshot could just be the hugest distraction possible.
Yeah.
Vulcan will have to have that guy to try and solo Hotshot, and it may be Psycho Sid's Aurelia with the Blade of the Rune King, even though attack speed against Malphite isn't necessarily the best way to go. Or it could be Mandatory Cloud's Diana. It's just a matter of which one of them they can get going and who Vulcan wants to initiate fights.
But how often do you see that? We know you kind of say Psycho Sid's picking Aurelia into Malphite, but how often do you see somebody say, this is a skill matchup, I'm going to play attack speed anyways because it's going to help my team in the late game?
Sorry, I was thinking that Diana was going to go, and I agree with you. You don't see it all that often, but in this situation, because Psycho Sid was so heavily targeted in Champion Select, it was the thing that he's most comfortable with. And when you watch the actual team fights play out, Hotshot is much more worried about getting onto Zuna, so Psycho Sid essentially gets to escape the attack speed slow late game from Hotshot GG because they are in completely different sectors of the fight, and he is invulnerable to it in that regard.
All right, we'll watch it play out here. We're only at 12 minutes. Those fights still a ways away as we are watching the Dragon and turret control sway back and forth here. Only 500 gold in the favor of Vulcan. They also sit a turret ahead. One of those turrets is the mid turret as well, so if they choose to start pushing in as they have with the wards around that blue side, they can start to make some advantages.
And this does feel like the closest game we've had of the 3. It's been a little bit slower. There hasn't been any crazy Link soloing Mandatory Cloud and stealing a blue buff. There haven't been crazy 3-man dives. It has been trading objectives and just farming up gold because when CLG's had those little edges, they're able to pull them through, but Vulcan has a little edge this time. And this actually reminds me the most of the game that CLG and Vulcan played in Super Week, where it was very close almost the entire time, and then CLG was able to outmaneuver Vulcan a little bit and steal a Baron objective, so this one could very easily go in any direction.
So here we are pushing down into mid. It looks like all of CLG now coming together here. They're going to be able to use all of this gold in the next fight, which isn't a lot, so we'll have to see what they can do.
They're going to have to get a lot of damage down onto this turret. It's quite low. Obviously, Psycho Sid isn't running down. Hotshot could potentially teleport in, and Vulcan just wants to clear the wave. They don't have very good wave clear as a team.
Pushing that out. Zuna gets the last hit. He is a little down in CS, but he almost has the Infinity Edge completed. That's going to be a big burst in damage for them. But see the aggression now of Chronologic Gaming. Look for Chowster to make these moves.
Oh, and Pink Ward on Pink Ward. Actually, Vulcan is able to finish off it right at the end. So CLG knows there is vision on this one, and that is why they're pushing down mid while they're giving up their blue.
Hotshot's going to be there to help a little bit, and it's going to be damage onto the turret. Hotshot GG back and forth with shards onto Zuna, just trying to deter some damage, but Zuna's just kind of taking it.
And Hotshot needs to be in 2 places at once because Psycho Sid was also pushing the top lane. That is a turret for a blue buff. That is a trade that Vulcan is willing to take because it's not even a blue buff for a turret. They get the other blue.
This is something that CLG did not allow to happen last time, and they're being kind of spread thinner on the map.
Which is really strange, because you look at Vulcan's actual siege wave clear, and it's low. They have 2 melee solo lanes in Diana and Aurelia, so if CLG was able to put up a siege at a turret, they would actually be able to starve out Vulcan a little bit, which I guess is why Vulcan is split pushing a little bit more, because the shove of Diana, when she's actually in a lane and able to melee creeps, is quite fast.
Blade of the Rune King finish on Aurelia. Just a 200 gold off for the needlessly large rod that goes with that Seeker's arm guard. We only have 600 250 gold on Link. He's looking to complete that Athene's Unholy Grail. He's a little bit behind on that one. We'll have to see if this scaling and this increase in damage that Vulcan can pick up here soon can put them even more in an advantage.
And we see that 1,400 gold advantage, which is actually pretty big when you consider the greater context of the game. It has a few implications. If I look at the gold of the individuals, Zuna is 400 gold ahead of Doublelift, which if he went to shop now would actually be enough to get the Infinity Edge, whereas Doublelift would not be able to complete his yet because he still doesn't have the Cloak of Agility.
Right.
Also the fact that, you know, Mandatory Cloud is actually 200 gold behind Link, but the rest of his team is much farther ahead. Psycho Sid 500 ahead of Hotshot. That's going to mean some item breakpoints. And even Bloodwater, having 400 gold up due to the global objectives, is actually a Sightstone entirely up, whereas Aphromoo is still working off regular wards and having to put the money into that.
So we can see where the core items are and where the recipes sit. A lot of recipes right now. That core item is only going to Psycho Sid as he's, like we said, finished that Blade of the Rune King. Hotshot, like we said, piecing together items for himself. We look around at the CS, it's still quite even. And really, again, props to Mandatory Cloud and Link and Lane for all of their CSing. Like we said, ManCloud having some trouble in the beginning, was able to bring it back. Now our Dragon engaged.
And CLG needs to stop the global gold bleed. They know they have Hotshot's ultimate up, so it's on Psycho Sid. He's actually trying to shove up the other lane, create as much map pressure as possible so that if Hotshot teleported in, he would get a turret out of it. So Vulcan is actually willing to concede this Dragon if it means a turret. But they're just going for it and forcing CLG into the choice.
They have the wards, 2 pink wards now for CLG in the top bush here. They may dive in on this. The teleport comes in from Hotshot. Looks like they are going to completely take over this Dragon. Oh, he tries to get out. He does actually get the jump there on the second one. It looks like they are going to go Cataclysm on it. Smithy locks up 3. It's going to be Chaucer and Aphromoo looking to walk around and get some help out here. But it looks like ManCloud on the backside. Aphromoo able to lock a few more up with a flay, but Zuna comes back in to do the damage. Smithy flag tosses back in, and the team is just able to take out CLG methodically, losing only Psycho Sid.
4 for 1. Psycho Sid came down late to that fight and really made a play. Zuna has double buffs after that one. CLG was forced into going, and Vulcan just took it in stride. They're going to get the Dragon out of this as well. What a great play for them.
He could really go on Zuna here. Zuna has the jump, but he's got to be careful. He has flash. If he just flash Q'd, he could get those double buffs for himself, but it looks like he backs off. They grab the Dragon and actually give a little bit of CS to Zuna there.
Big time plays. Having the double melee solos in that fight in particular exploded Doublelift. Everyone just jumped onto him and he was gone. There was a great crescendo the Bloodwater landed that kind of counteracted the shockwave that Link was able to land, and it was a great fight overall for Vulcan. It was actually a very chaotic team fight. They don't have necessarily great AoE on Vulcan despite having the crescendo. It was scattered enough that they were able to come out on top.
Super scattered, and those purchases of those items, right? Like we said, the news of our draw just came out. It was a Fiendish Codex to come out from Link. He was 600 gold to 1,600 gold. It's a bit of scaling there in the damage. A 2-0 and 2. ManCloud just picking up his Zanyas.
That's going to be very great for him, especially if he's going in onto Link. Everyone's reaction times have evolved to a point where Shockwave on Orianna, if you have your flash up or if you have his Zanyas, you can avoid the damage entirely. Yeah. And that's exactly what Mandatory Cloud's going to be able to do. We've seen everyone dodging Malphite ultimates if they have the reaction speed. I mean, if they have their flashes up, they just dodge it. These guys are ridiculously good, especially in the low ping environment that we have set up here. That was such a big win for Vulcan because they were up in globals. And really, that's a matter of CLG just having to force the fight and try to win it. And since they lost that, I don't know if CLG can continue to force the fights.
That gold coming in right now is really big, as it did complete an Infinity Edge. Now you look at 3-0 and 1 to a 0-1 and 0, almost the same CS. Infinity Edge. So Doublelift is keeping up. He just cannot stay on the outside of these fights. That extra possibly 800 gold that you're seeing is that Brawler's Glove and the dagger.
It definitely looks like he's keeping up, but it won't be that way for long. As Hotshot's trying to distract, but his team is not in the position to capitalize.
Oh, he plays Ring Around the Rosie and he gets himself out. Very nice job there. Using the ultimate, however, he's still waiting for a few other things to come back up, so they're not ready to engage anyways.
Yeah, that would have been great if other people were doing things, but everyone was back shopping, so that was just the team not being in sync in that situation. And now there's a Malphite ult down where if Vulcan is probably going to go for this blue because they know Chester's going there.
These guys are just hanging out in each other's neighborhood, walking by, just kind of hiding in the bushes. What's going on? So it looks like they allow CLG to have their jungle back only for a little bit of time here, knocking on the front door. They come in for the blue.
And CLG did smite that away because they would have had an opportunity to fight that since they knew that Psycho Sid was off in this lane pushing. CLG wanted to be able to send 5 there to make sure they got the blue buff, but getting the blue buff onto Chowster isn't exactly what they wanted. The pressure alone is a win since they denied the blue buff from Link and also got the turret from Psycho Sid over in bot.
Now, would you not call that playing with fire? Was it just a smite being down from Chowster there that said they're not going to do Baron, let's push bottom, it's okay to show our top laner in bot right now?
It's not a matter of them having to worry about Baron yet. They weren't necessarily playing with fire. The only fire they would have been playing with is if Hotshot had his Malphite ultimate up.
Okay.
But he did. So even though it was a 5v4, there weren't really hard ways of CLG initiating unless Link landed a miracle shockwave, but it wasn't the case. And again, Smithy's just hanging out.
He is all over the jungle right now. He says, why can't we share? Let's just be friends. Hotshot says no. He's trying to be greedy right now, but more to his own. He wants that for his team, and they need to get themselves back into this one. Right now, they sit exactly 5,000 gold down, 3 turrets, and 4 kills at 20 minutes. Smithy finally leaves them alone, and it looks like they're going to have a little bit of play time in mid, just a little bit.
And I wonder when Vulcan's going to kind of get their next team fight. The interesting thing about their team composition is since they don't have a huge amount of ranged poke, and that they have to be so committal when they decide to go in, they have to find the right fights, and they can't necessarily dive turrets.
That's the second unstoppable force as soon as it came up to be used defensively.
And this just gives more freedom for Vulcan to kind of go around where they want. Now they only have to worry about the shockwave and the thresh from coming in, and the threat of Hotshot's unstoppable force is non-existent.
Yeah. So the teleport is up now. That's what I was saying. He was waiting for that, so they're not going to engage, but now that down again once one is up, and they still just have to wait it out.
And this would have been a dangerous turret for CLG to push because they knew Zuna was on his way down. Even still, it might be a dangerous situation. Psycho Sid coming in, maybe from behind.
Oh, that person on the tail end of the party as you run is such a dangerous spot to be in. So scary for Doublelift right there. They get out safe. They're going to be able to guard this one. Half health on their second tier turret in mid. They look to lose the bottom one if Psycho Sid pushes. They've already lost the top.
You can tell this is a real tense situation for these guys because this is actually a type of gold lead where Vulcan would be much more comfortable under normal situations. 5,000 gold up. You can see Psycho Sid is doing whatever he wants to Hotshot in the bottom lane. Zuna is happily farming in the top lane, but there is a sense of tension that exists now because both teams know how much is on the line.
There's a point in the game when we saw that Hotshot really wasn't taking any damage because he was so tanky, but right now Vulcan just seems to be outscaling and really doing better in this late or mid part of the game still. It's only 22 minutes in here. Feels like it's gone for so long.
And I could have been wrong with this Aurelia Malphite matchup because Psycho Sid seems to be doing what he wants to Hotshot. The Mercury Treads were a great choice to reduce the duration of the attack speed still that Hotshot GG is applying to him, and he just wins in the long fights against Hotshot.
A bulwark quickly finished here on Chowster's side. Seeing the amount of AP really only coming from Diana. Could this have been a lock-it moment?
Well, it is a lock-it moment for Chowster. Was that the question?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it is a lock-up moment. So if they want to fight now, it's actually a pretty good situation. Diana is one of the biggest threats right now, even though Zuna does have 2 items. He hasn't hit that critical mass point. You could make an argument that Chowster should have stopped at the Aegis and then went for Lock of the Iron Solari, but he just loves the efficiency of the Bulwark in general, and they decided to go for that one.
Let's see how they lock it down and use that. Everybody's going to be huddling around Chowster as they go for Man Cloud. Shut down that experience, magic resistance rather, with the Bulwark. Athene's finished out, but we do have the Blasting Wand, Abyssal Scepter looking to be finished out in Diana, so a second item already built into. A Flay coming out, the box goes down from Thrush. They turn around so much damage just from the outside. The Crescendo actually put out quite a bit. Chowster looks to go in, a Shockwave only from Mancloud as he throws down the Zonias. That means CLG and the team are forced to run on this one.
Psycho Sid wasn't in that fight, but still, Vulcan was able to get away with no deaths. Zuna actually flashed out while Hotshot was in mid-fight from Unstoppable Force, even avoided the attack speed slow as well, which punished CLG, got them back a little bit. Seemed like a good fight for CLG to take, but it was disengaged well enough by Vulcan that Vulcan ended up coming out ahead because they got the Dragon.
See, as Vulcan now decides to push middle, they don't even need Psycho Sid. Oh, I was going to say they're hovering towards the top side. We're not going to go for Baron, and they don't.
And the longer this goes, the closer Zuna gets to those 6 items. Both AD carries are incredibly threatening with 6 items. Hotshot will do his best to try and shut down Zuna in the late game fights, but then it's a matter of just triple dive for Vulcan getting onto Doublelift, and Doublelift doesn't have the defensive itemization. There's also no Lulu to kind of tell people to screw off when they go for Twitch, as GGU was talking about. They love running Lulu in their Protect 80 carry composition. CLG doesn't have that option in this one, and they haven't actually had a full-on team fight with Vulcan since the 4-for-1 that happened at Dragon.
And you can just see the comfort coming into the builds as well. Bloodwater also lending damage with his Kages. They're looking to get more damage in, even from the support. Probably going to turn that into a Phoenix or something later.
And he's way ahead of Aphromoo in gold. He's 1,500 gold. The big thing that happened is not only did he get to his Sightstone faster, he got to his second gold per 10 item much faster, just because global gold manifests itself more in junglers and supports than in anyone else, since they're the ones that aren't necessarily farming, and they can't make up the differences when they're losing globals.
Right. We'll see what they decide to push these lanes now. As we see the Static Shiv put into Zuna's kit on Tristana, gives him another split push lane, or just really a siege back lane to push back into CLG as they're trying to stop these turrets from going down. Those turrets currently stand at 4-1. There hasn't been too much change between those or the kills, still at 5-1 here, as it was 5 minutes ago. But at 25 minutes in the game, Vulcan in Game 3 holds a 7,000 gold lead.
And it's been one of those stall-outs kind of from both sides, but Vulcan has been able to increase their lead.
Yeah.
You know a team is in a bad situation if they're stalling and not increasing their lead, because then the percentage of the gold difference is changing. But in this situation, the longer they stall, nothing really changes. They're keeping up with the pacing of the game. Vulcan is holding their percentage advantage, and until they make a mistake, they're still in a good situation. So it's actually on CLG to force something in this scenario.
Abyssal Scepter now finished out on the Mandatory Cloud. 600 gold sits in the hands of Link as he is piecing together his next item. Like you said, Psycho Sid taking advantage of Hotshot GG in the bottom lane. They keep everybody in mid. He's going to keep going onto this one. Hotshot trying to get the ground slam in, thwart that attack speed. Not a Blade Surge in range to continue the aggression. They go into Aphromoo here. Looks like they're going to be able to take him down. He doesn't use anything for that. He is actually waiting on Flash and Exhaust. So if they can hold it as 4, they'll be all right.
That was the Psycho Sid distraction that actually caused that. CLG peeled down to help support, and Aphromoo was just a step behind.
Oh, man, Doublelift definitely wanted to get some aggression on that. Maybe a few shots onto this. He knows that Doublelift is there. I think he saw him poke out. Chowster into mid, he gets down to the flag toss, popping him up, and they put him down to the ground. The bear is out and down for the count.
You could almost see that Doublelift was screaming and trying to get support at his red buff, and it just distracted the rest of CLG. So now they have Chowster freshly dead, Aphromoo just spawning at base, so there's a chance Vulcan could rush down this Baron. If they don't, they could peel and fight CLG very well. This is also a potential choke point for Unstoppable Force and the Orianna combo. We could see the conclusion of this game right here.
CLG has spread themselves thin for quite a bit of this matchup. They don't have Thresh for this fight. They go in, Chowster's down for 6 seconds. Hotshot Unstoppable Force with nobody to follow up. CLG could be in the final fight here, 26 minutes in. A kill coming in from ManCloud. They continue with a double kill for Mandatory Cloud. Zuna tries to finish off onto Link. They focus to Aphromoo. It's 35 seconds in the death chamber. They may have enough to guard the base.
So they've gotten 2 down. It looks like they want more. Mandatory Cloud and Zuna are chasing Aphromoo instead of going for the Baron, so it looks like they get the kills, and maybe Chowster's going to chase on.
Chowster going crazy, the I think I can mentality, but you are going up against an Infinity Edge Tristana. He's got to throw down all the damage. He tries to keep himself alive here. He gets the shield from Link, but Link steps out a little too far. He could go down here as well, the shield for himself. And it's not going to be a blue buff transfer this time around.
Everybody calm down. The fight is actually over. That was 3 deaths for CLG. Vulcan didn't lose a soul in that one. There's still only 1 death on the game. It looked like X-Smithy was dead, but he's still that 0-0-10 perfect score on the jungler. That was a great peel by Vulcan. They showed their team fight superiority, and even though they fought in the choke, the Malphite ultimate was already down, and they got on to Doublelift fast enough that the spray and pray didn't obliterate their whole team. That was a very dangerous situation to fight in, and a dangerous spot for Vulcan to position themselves in, but they came out on top nonetheless.
We'll see. CLG finally got to use some of their abilities and summoners aggressively there. However, they were forced to turn around from the fight. I think the cooldowns kind of helped there. We're not that late into the game. We still have 30-second cooldowns, and the fact that CLG could rebolster themselves actually stopped a lot of damage there.
And they might just have to go yet again, because Vulcan is forcing very hard here. And again, Doublelift's cardinal sin sometimes.
No.
He has a summoning pole in the bot lane that he sometimes just runs to every time he spawns, and he's caught in that situation again. So everyone in Vulcan is a Baron here, and I don't know if CLG can stop this one too.
Like a moth to the flame, Doublelift to bottom lane. He does have a turret there, though, that is on fire and has his name on it, but the fight's going to go down on a Hotshot. Baron Nashor has been slain. Xmithy coming through with that. Ultimates are up, summoners are up, and Vulcan looks to push after a quick buy, I guess.
Doublelift trying to get this turret down, but that is not worth it. Even if he gets this turret, it's 1,500 gold and 4 minutes of the Baron buff. For a 750 gold turret, when they only had one turret on the game, they can't really apply pressure elsewhere, and Psycho Sid's actually just going to go kill him.
He is absolutely going to go on and throws down the pink ward. Oh, he doesn't let any of the tricks let him slip away.
He knew exactly what he was doing when he went back to base. He home guard boot and bought a pink ward. He's like, double lift, you're going down. Now they're going to use this 36 seconds of the Baron buff to continue.
So much time, they stop it up. Going for the initiation, he does pop two. Oh, into the command shockwave. Crescendo comes back across. Zuna is left to only shoot on Malphite. Smithy trying to come and peel for him, though. Chouster to the back line. They got to run, but here comes Sid, the Aurelia to come in. Can they continue the fight? Mandatory Cloud just on the outside. They still have Baron for this one, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to dive the turret. It's not even there for them. Aframu is going to be in the eye. Can they get the blade surge just to jump the shot? The ball save, but they are able to take down Thresh just before Hotshot gets out alive. It's going to be inhibitor turrets, though, in the eyes of Vulcan.
Zuna gets the unstoppable call with this one, and they still have Baron. There's still Aframu down. 12 kills to 1. Inhibitor at 30 minutes.
They're going to go for top lane 2. All these waves are pushing. No, they go around the outside. They want to play it safe here. They don't want to make any mistakes. They may not get it, however.
CLG really tried to jump on them with the combo at the start of that fight. They pulled off the Malphite Orianna combo, and it looked like it could have been enough to finish off Zuna, but they didn't have the follow-up because Double Lift was dead. No one else could run in through the rest of Vulcan and get to that fight, and it turned out that Vulcan just got more advantages off another attempted CLG play.
And I feel like this is where Vulcan's experience is now growing and coming into play. Week 3, I feel like they would have went for that top turret, and CLG would have been able to initiate, but they made the right move. They got out, and they cut 0 losses because they got the inhibitor. They just made it out with everything.
And they've been playing almost flawlessly this game. Just the one death. They're that close to a flawless victory in a Game 3 against CLG. 5 seed versus 4 seed. Almost perfect that it goes 3 games.
1 game away.
They're close here. They're real close. 12,000 gold edge with a Baron buff. Still many minutes left on it. Hotshot trying to split push. See if Vulcan stops him.
Here we go. Smithy coming on. They have the gap closer. 2 gap closers to get it onto this fight. There's the first one. They pop him up. A red buff, no, on to nobody. So it looks like they got all the chase to come on here. They keep getting the hits down. Hotshot could be able to make it out of this one. Zuna goes to turn around, and Smithy needs to stop tunneling here, but nobody's there to... Actually, he's going to keep going.
Yeah, they really want to get Hotshot to at least burn his ultimate, so it's a safer dive in the next situation. So they get that, and now they don't have to worry about Hotshot closing onto Zuna the next time they siege a turret.
Them mind games. Absolutely coming in so strong for Vulcan, and I guess these are the kind of advantages you need to push when you're dictating the game as much.
And they got a real big lead here. You can tell they are super into this one. Psycho Sid trying to make sure all the lanes are pushed at once. They already have the 6 turrets, and since they have the inhibitor down, they're making sure all the turrets on the outside are just going down at the same time. That's why Psycho Sid's pushing up that bottom lane. That is essentially an exposed tower that CLG has no business defending, and it's just free gold that Vulcan's going to be able to mop up on their way to the base.
They keep going. They're just tanking turrets now. Even Bloodwater goes to face tank this one. He has the Shirelia's boots mobility as well onto Sona, so they're all going for aggression in their purchases here. They know they're that far ahead. They look for the bottom inhibitor turret.
And they know that they still have Hotshot's ultimate down. Sure, they have no Smithy Jarvan ultimate, but they probably don't care that much. There is a crescendo from Bloodwater. That's their initiation tool. Also, the E from Diana. If Mandatory Cloud just decides to go in, Double Lift does have his flash available, so they have to be somewhat careful with it if they decide to dive this one, but they're in position, and if they want to force something, they definitely have an opportunity to.
An opportunity coming from 12-1. About 13,000 gold in the lead and 5 turrets in their favor is that opportunity they're looking to pressure here. 33 minutes in, they're spreading them thin, Double Lift in the bottom. It looks like they clear the wave, but no engagement, chat. This is getting tense.
Double Lift has to just run back there as fast as possible. You can also see Zuna has a giant spell instead of going full offense Tristana because he respects the power of a Malphite dive with Orianna, does not want to get instantly killed, and they realize the team has enough of a lead that shots like that still matter.
Chouster looked like he got hit by a Nidalee spear, but really just an auto attack from Zuna there. That long range, 1 level away from being at its max. And it looks like they're all about to level quite soon. We have a level 13 Chouster to level 18s on the map right now. The junglers, however, on both sides, they are low, 12 and 10 on the supports. So big focus is there once you come into these fights as well.
And it still shows that these junglers are very similarly styled. Their minion kills are quite low. They're really just there to support their team, which is why the team that's ahead jungler always seems so much farther ahead because they're just living off of the team's success. Yeah. So they don't really get any personal gain out of any of this stuff. And because Vulcan's Baron buff is down, I don't think they're trying to dive this turret. Now they're just trying to make the split push plays happen as Psycho Sid is at home trying to split push the other lane.
Pressure here, pressure there, a few shots when they can. Psycho Sid going in, clears the cleanse off of Double Lift. That's going to be quite helpful for them. Lee, wow, taking quite a bit of damage, so he won't be able to just quickly engage with his team just yet.
One thing, though, about Aurelia with Blade of the Ruin King is the healing. There's a fight.
Hotshot GG just stood still, reinitiated on the back line, but Chauster took so much from the first shot of Zuna. He had the Static Spark ready to go. Static Shiv, rather. Hotshot GG in the back line. Zuna taking a lot. Mandatory Cloud on the Zonias, but he's not able to help his team. They need output of damage right now. CLG is able to turn it around to the turret here. Vulcan may have gone too deep.
CLG with 3 kills. Vulcan just dove, could not get anything, and this looks like a 4th.
They look like they could get Bloodwater. He is going to go down quite quick. They let Double Lift get it on the expunge. Psycho Sid stays alive, and the damage he took initiated that fight.
That is exactly what CLG has been waiting for. They thought, Vulcan thought they had an edge because there was a Thresh and a Twitch potentially distracted by Psycho Sid. But when they went in to dive, they didn't have anyone to tank the turrets. Hotshot counter-initiated Great Link, was there with the Shockwave. That was just not a good initiation for Vulcan in any situation, and they gave back a lot of power to CLG there.
I'm baffled because Hotshot stood there like a rock next to the turret for 4 or 5 seconds and then just threw his ultimate off. It's like what you would do to someone in solo queue. Hey, that guy lagged out. Let's just run by him.
Yeah, Hotshot's not watching.
It was like he wasn't there in the fight anymore.
But at the end of the day, he just pulled it off perfectly. It was a 4 for 0 for CLG. They waited
He did
long
his
enough.
best Teemo impression.
His best Teemo impression. Yeah, I'm invisible, guys.
I'm invisible.
They can't see me.
Completely invisible.
Oh, man. That was so huge for CLG. Vulcan needs to almost regroup behind that. That is not the type of decision that they'd been making. They had almost a flawless game up until that play. And now I think it's about the next Baron just spawning now. Can CLG make it back? Because again, Double Lift was in the bottom lane.
They're still up quite a bit of gold here. They may be able to pressure some more. They're going to go for Baron once again. They're not going to get any contest onto this one. So they pull a little back of what happened. They are, yeah, okay. Back in their favor. And it looks like they are going to try and pressure here. I think they'll stick as 5, though.
And at least they have the exposed inhibitor that they can try to get down once again. They haven't been able to get much damage on any of the other outer turrets because we know that since they have 2 melee solo lanes and the Tristana with a huge fear of Malphite for good reason, that they have trouble sieging down these turrets. So the explosion inhibitors is the one they can get, but what Vulcan really needs is CLG to engage in a fight. We've already seen here that Vulcan gets counter-engaged on very strongly by CLG, and CLG's defensive base holding is actually quite strong. So Vulcan needs to almost trick CLG into fighting them if they want to come out on top, or just have a better executed fight with all 5 there, where someone with a lot of armor sits in the turret and tanks it.
So we see that Psycho Sid now adapting to the situation last time, puts an Oracles on top of his head, which doesn't allow Double Lift to get that shock on him, or get that surprise on him, I should say, just right off the bat of the fight. He's going to be coming in with the team, however, to give the team full vision onto Double Lift and wherever he is, now in stealth mode in the backside. And
I really wonder if CLG is going to concede this or try to fight here, because this could have such huge implications. It looks like they're just going to concede this because they've made it through the down inhibitor once before. It's the second inhibitor that will probably do them in if they give it up. They're much better off fighting under a turret with all of their counter engage, and that could be exactly what happens here. You can see very clearly that Psycho Sid is not trying to split push this time because they want to be together.
That ball is on Hotshot. Watch for that again, and then watch Hotshot to fly across the screen with unstoppable force. The clear comes out from Dissonance. They get a good shot, or Toxic Blast down by Double Lift, and the clear is there for CLG. Now they can get these waves out. Looks like it's just going to be, how can Vulcan, like I said before, stretch CLG thin on this?
And they kind of saw there, they're not going to have minions if they try to 5v5 dive. CLG has enough wave because they can completely keep them back. Right. CLG has experience in this type of game. During Super Week, they had that game against Marn, where they had the huge edge, they had multiple inhibitors down, and they could just never close it. Double Lift is going for the 6-item Twitch. He wants to get there. He's 350 CS. When you have inhibitors down, all the waves just push to you, and you get to outfarm the other team. It's actually, once an inhibitor down, it's on the other team to finish because they know that CLG will slowly outfarm them. Vulcan will have to pull off some kind of dive or some kind of creative way of getting this turret down, whether that's Zuna just man-moding and getting this turret down, or whether it's a hard dive for Vulcan, because CLG is ready for the long haul here.
They are sitting once again in front of the turret. That dissonance to come down from Link. Psycho Sid to the top lane. 40 minutes into our third match and our second best of 3, CLG versus Vulcan. The winner of this faces off against TSM. This is their last chance.
And we know the gold lead is over 10,000 gold now. It's 11,000 gold lead. There's actually 2,500 gold on Zuna, but they're still here because they know they only have a minute left of the Baron buff. They want to make something happen with this Baron buff because CLG is just farming in their base. Putting the poke down on a Chouster doesn't get the turret lower. They need to be able to get this turret down if they want to make something happen. Split push might do it, though.
There's the pressure. The Oracles has worn off onto Psycho Sid. He dodges the slow, and he dodges quite a bit of damage. The Guardian Angel is out onto his hotshot. Goes in, but there's no command shockwave to come in there. They get a free turret. The Unstoppable Force is down.
So the harass that had went down onto Chouster gave Vulcan the window to go in there. They did not want to follow up if they did not have 5 people there, and that inhibitor is getting a little bit chunked.
This is going to be big. Now it's going to maybe go on Chouster to walk into that fight. We saw how much damage he's taking from Zuna. That's a telegraphed command shockwave, though. These guys need to get it. This is what executed the fight last time. If Doublelift can take down this kill, CLG might go.
The fight's on the other side.
There it is. It is going to be in Jet. Smithy coming in strong. Chouster takes so much damage there. It's Doublelift's going to be able to come back into this fight. They have to make sure they can pinch him. Mandatory Cloud going right for him. They don't have the Oracles. It looks like they're pushed out for now. Doublelift wanted to go in, but he did not.
And this could be the 3rd inhibitor clean for Zuna. The Baron buff just expired. It is a 5v3 in the base if CLG tries to go for it. Vulcan might try to end here. They're still sticking around.
This is big. 42 seconds and 36 seconds on the tankiest champions right now. We haven't seen too many hooks coming from Thresh, or Aphromoo on Thresh, I should say, but right now would be a damn good time to lock down somebody, but I don't think they have it. Lynx on the outside. Doublelift gets locked up, put down in the middle, gets popped back a little bit there by Thresh's Flay. They go for Psycho Sid. They're holding him off behind the Nexus, and they take the first turret.
The second turret going down, CLG trying to fight for their lives.
Vulcan trying to go for the Nexus, but yes, CLG goes in. They're throwing everything they have at Vulcan. Vulcan's throwing every auto attack at the Nexus. They're going to be facing off against Team Solo Mid as they take down CLG in the playoffs.
Zuna is as pumped as I've seen him in my life. Vulcan does it. They beat CLG.